Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to another how to build video. This one was requested by popular demand from all of you. You can actually take a look here. Bam. I don't know if y'all can see that, but we're gonna see if we can zoom in a bit. So the most requested right now is Blue Lucilicca and then the Red Fram. So we're probably going to do the Red Fram video sometime after the Blue Lucilicca video. But since it's been the most requested, we're going to go ahead and knock this video out for you guys. So no better than to go to the Lucy account to do a Lucilica how to build. So I do have her built on both my Korean accounts, since those were the ones I already had her on anyway, and I don't have her on any of the other accounts yet. Well, actually, I do think I have her on the Mah-Lon account. She's just not being built. That's all. Yes, Lucilica. Yeah, talk to me, baby. Talk to me. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, really? All right. So, just as always, we need to get into the skill, see what she does, because it's going to tell us a lot about what we're going to do in building her. So we go here to the first skill, her subjugation. It says attacks the selected enemy, 80% chance to reduce the attack power for one turn. At base, this will be 60%, really high percentage to have with no skill ups. Or rather, it'll be 70%. 70% because we only got 10% chance right now. So 91 max, but really high percentage for this. And remember, because it's worded really funny, she's just like the Red Mah-Lon. She provides damage down. So the attack power reduction is not an attack break, it's the damage down debuff, which she is one of the only out of two free-to-play heroes that can do it, and the only paid hero that can do it is the light Vanessa. Yeah, I said Vanessa and not Olivia this time. Yeah, I'm getting better. So we know she's got damage down, so she's definitely going to be useful in places where they do a lot of damage, like the raid. All right, second skill. It says select tax the selected enemy, removes all buffs applied to the enemy. So this is a great one because once its max skill is at a 3-turn cooldown and 4 turns on its base, really great skills from removing buffs. She's probably one of the best heroes in buff removal just because she removes all buffs and not just one. Her strips is pretty good. So anything you're dealing with that, it doesn't work in a raid, but Obelisk, this could be very useful. Some of the bosses during the story, this could be very useful, especially if you're like taking your time through the story and you just happen to get on her contract. And I do recommend she be one of the ones you pick up ASAP. Probably after you done with your first 2 contracts, she should be your third. And that's my opinion, because she just provides way too much utility that no other hero in the game is going to give you when you have so many other heroes that probably overlap with everything else that you think you may want to have. Alright, so let's go to her burst. 3 spirit costs. It cannot be reduced past 3, but that's for good reason because she is powerful. And it says attacks the selected enemy, 70% chance to inflict 5 stacks of sap, which is the max stack that you can have, and she does it all at once. Damage on each enemy for 1 turn. So this at base is at a 50% chance, which is not really high, but 70% is extremely high. So chances are she's going to land most, if not all of them, consistently. This is insane for her. Like, she's one I wouldn't recommend to skill up right away, but at some point in time, like if you opt out of just going for pure damage, she will be great. She's going to carry your obelisk because she is the best damage dealer for the obelisk. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So let's go here to her passive here that increases the debuff rate. You get several stacks of that adding on up, which gives you a chance to not have to worry about getting a lot of debuff rate in subs. It doesn't matter for the raid, but for Obelisk, once you get into those stages past 20, that is when having your debuff rate above 100% is going to be critically important, because they will start resisting, and you don't want that. You don't want that at all. Then her other passive, which is increases damage against fire element, so you get some extra stacks of that for extra damage, which doesn't really matter as much, but it's okay in its own. So she's a really unique hero in what she provides. Her best place is your main damage dealer for Obelisk. Of course, before you get above 20, the HP for the bosses and the enemies aren't really that high, so you can bring your standard damage dealers in. But once you get to Mah-Lon on floor 20 and above, that is when she's going to be critically important to have to land her sap, provide her strips as necessary, and to get that damage down on targets so they don't do as much damage if necessary as well. But for the most part, you just want to be spamming her burst if you can. Now let's talk about how you would build her. On this account, since she is one of my main heroes, like we have her like pretty much fully built. We still working on finishing off her skill ups. This account is pretty much based around building Lucilica. So once we get the red and the dark, we're gonna max build those as well. But yeah, we're currently getting her together, and we do have her built as a pseudo damage dealer on a crit rate speed build. I believe for this account, I believe she's on crit rate here, and this should be speed. Yeah, so she is on a crit rate speed, and she's on a 2-1-1 defense build on this account in particular. So we giving her defense because she scales real well with the defense. Her HP isn't really that is not super high, but it's not like super low either. But since she scales really well with defense, having her with more defense is going to be beneficial because you can easily get over 3K and mitigate a lot of the damage that she takes. And we opt for attack for more defenses just so she could be able to survive a lot more, because we're going to do most of her damage via sap because she's mainly being built for Obelisk, and then she has her usefulness in the raid as well, but we're only more concerned with her surviving and applying damage down than anything else when it comes to the raid. We do want to have some kind of speed on her. We don't want her super slow because we want her to be able to move and do a little bit. She's at my recommended minimum threshold for the raid, above 150 speed. Like, so that is like pretty good. As further as the other content go, is like the further you get into Obelisk, the faster they do become. So eventually they will move before she moves, but she's still at a decent speed setting to start off with. She does do a bit of damage, so she could be built. She could be built on a 2-1-1 attack build if that's what you were going for. But for this in particular build, we are 2-1-1 defense just for the survival. Now there are plenty of builds that you can do for her. For my other build that I will probably recommend, depending on like what your stats and what do you have. Keep in mind, you will probably have to opt out of a specific piece of gear just to get debuff rate on her if you don't have enough debuff rate in subs once you get to those higher stages in the Obelisk. Now we're going to jump over here to the 9 account with our other Lucilica. Now for this one, it's a bit different. I believe she has speed here and then HP. it's flat. I don't think we had anything better at the time, and it got some pretty decent subs, so I stayed with it. But for this build in particular, this is a 2-2-1 HP def build. So she want to have 2 pieces of HP, 2 pieces of defense gear, and 1 attack piece. Um, I probably would have went with maybe a 3-2 or a 3-3 build. Or rather, a 3-2 or a 3-3 build. If I had the gear to do so. So I didn't really need an attack piece because we're not necessarily using this one for physical attack damage. Also, the same thing applies for the debuff rate. If you can't get good enough debuff rate in subs, you definitely want to try to get a debuff rate ring or pendant on her. And as many surge sets as you can possibly have so she can give you more burst gauge. And this one is to be more tankier, since she's only 5-star on this account and she's not ascended like at all. The other one, she's already 2A. She's not going to have as high stats as you can see, but if she was maxed out just like the one on the Lucilicca account, she definitely would have more HP and more defense to boot, with still having significantly less attack for this build. So making her survive as best as possible is really important in building the Blue Lucilicca. It's not really that much to it. She is hands down the best hero to have for floor 20 of the obelisk, because once you get to floor 20 and clear it, that's when you unlock the Light Mah-Lon, which is a stellar hero to have to use in your raid and other content, as well as the obelisk itself. And it's really hard, especially for a F2P player, to be able to clear it. So having her as early as possible would practically boost you up in your chances of clearing that stage once you get there. Granted, you can get her built decently. That's pretty much it for the most part on building the Blue Lucilicca. Like I said, you can go for a damage build if you want to. It's not necessary. I mean, you're not going to really take her into PvP. You can use her in story stages, of course. The raid is great, and Obelisk is her best place. So that's her in the nutshell. And we're gonna wrap it up here. So the next one we're gonna do is gonna be the red frame, and I probably have a poll up for the next set of heroes that we may talk about. I'm not quite sure what it's gonna be, but that should be up before this video is even posted. So I hope this has been beneficial and helpful to somebody out there. And if it did, make sure you smash that like button. If it didn't, then leave me a comment below. Let me know what you didn't like about it. Comment section below, and we can talk about this and see about improving the content. Until then, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and turn those post notifications on so you can see my content when it goes live. And this is your host, Gamer Dude 2088, and I will see you next time. Much love, God bless, deuces.